What's going on, guys? Welcome to the video. Well, it seems Project Fear is back in full swing. Trumped up sensationalised articles with attention-grabbing headlines like this one. A UK trade envoy quits in protest over no-deal Brexit policy, threatening £800 million trade deal with Canada. Sounds traumatic to the average reader, because to people like you and me, £800 million is an obscene amount of money that we will never see in 1,000 lifetimes. So to us it might as well be £10 trillion. My point is, the title and this article are complete nonsense to evoke emotion that a no-deal Brexit is going to bring about the end times. Of course, anyone with half a brain cell knows this is going to be more of the usual from the mainstream media. So let's check out this article and tear it a new one because it's complete nonsense. First, let's look at the video accompanying the article. It's also complete rubbish, so I won't even comment on it, but I want to see what you guys think about the claims it makes regarding a no-deal Brexit. So leave them down in the comment section below. I'm sure they will be hilarious. Now that complete crock of shit is out of the way, let's take a look at the article itself, because they are not finished yet, of course. Its subtitle reads, Exclusive. Andrew Percy attacks cack-handed move to scrap import tariffs if UK crashes out in October, triggering Ottawa's refusal to roll over existing EU deal. And this article is by Rob Merrick, the deputy political editor. One of Liam Fox's trade envoys has quit in protest that the government's no-deal Brexit policy threatens the demise of an existing trade deal with Canada worth £800 million. Andrew Percy attacked the cack-handed move to scrap or slash tariffs on almost all imports if the UK crashes out of the EU, blaming it for Ottawa's refusal to roll over its existing deal with the EU. The Conservative MP felt patronised by the International Trade Secretary when he warned him the announcement would backfire, the Independent understands, walking away after almost 2 years in the Canada role. The resignation is major embarrassment for Mr Fox, who has pledged to replicate all 40 trade agreements the UK enjoys as an EU member, to avoid any disruption of trade if Brexit goes ahead. The controversy will also dog Boris Johnson if he wins the Tory party leadership race and carries out his threat of a no-deal Brexit. That is, of course, if he wins and...
Jeremy Cunt. I'm so sorry, Jeremy Hunt. I've never said that before in my life. It's usually men who say...
doesn't win. An ally of Mr Percy told The Independent, Andrew warned them back in March, as soon as the UK's no-deal tariffs were published, that it would mean the Canadians would not go for rolling over the CETA, Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement deal. He could see they were getting 95% of what they wanted if a no-deal happened, that the tariffs were better than what is in CETA. Why would they rush to sign up to what the UK wanted? He said it was such a cack-handed approach, but he was patronised by a couple of ministers, including Liam Fox, and told everything was going to be fine. It was revealed at the start of July that Canada was resisting the UK's pressure to carry over the CETA, one of the biggest of the 40 deals. It was immediately seen as a major blow to Britain's hopes of avoiding damage to trade with the key market if, as Mr Johnson has threatened, there is a crash-out Brexit on 31st of October. A study for the government found that losing the CETA deal would deliver an £800 million blow to GDP by 2030, both from direct trade lost and from diversion to the EU, which would still have the agreement. Canada made clear its resistance to a rollover after the UK announced in March the tariffs would be axed temporarily on 87% of imports after a no-deal Brexit. The move was designed to stop shoppers being hit by soar-away prices, but the threat to UK jobs from undercutting was branded a sledgehammer for our economy by the CBI. Canada's government noted the proposal would provide all WTO, World Trade Organization partners, including Canada, with duty-free access for 95% of tariff lines. And a spokesman warned, post-Brexit, any future trade arrangement between Canada and the UK would be influenced by the terms of the withdrawal agreement between the UK and the EU, as well as any unilateral UK approaches. Barry Gardiner, Labour's Shadow Trade Secretary, warned the episode exposed the ideological bluster behind Mr Fox's approach to trade policy. He has now been proven to have less understanding of how international trade works than one of his own backbenchers, Mr Gardiner said. Andrew Percy's resignation, claiming he was patronised and ignored when he was clearly telling it like it is sadly typical of the arrogance Liam Fox displays to everyone who disagrees with him. Sounds like a Labour approach to disagreement to me, don't you think? Mr Percy declined to go into detail about the reasons for his resignation, what a surprise, but said he had concluded there was no longer any value in carrying on. He was appointed as Theresa May opened CETA talks with Justin Trudeau, the Canadian Prime Minister, on a visit in 2017, having lived and taught in the country. The MP for Brigham Gould in Yorkshire said, "I really enjoyed the role, but I don't believe a new Prime Minister should inherit people in a role like that. It should be for them to decide if they want the people to continue. Secondly, for various reasons, I don't think I was adding any value over the last 6 or 9 months, so I didn't see any point in keeping the post for the sake of it, so why didn't you fucking leave back then, you idiot?" The friend of the envoy said, of his warnings to Mr Fox, he was told, "We know how to do trade deals, but how do we know when the UK hasn't done one for 40 years? In contrast, Canada has negotiated a trade deal with the EU and the US. These are the people who know how to do trade negotiations." Mr Fox has held the importance of the 27 envoys, appointing 2 more in recent days to support the UK's ambitious trade and investment agenda in global markets. A Department for International Trade spokesman declined to comment on a political resignation, but said the UK and Canadian Prime Ministers agreed to ensure a seamless transition of CETA, and we remain committed to doing so. "We are continuing to work on securing continuity with other countries. Last month we agreed in principle to transition our agreement with Korea, and a continuity trade agreement was signed with 6 Central American countries. Once the Korea agreement is signed, we will have agreements with countries covering 64% of our trade, for which we are seeking continuity." And the article ends there. So they can't help but get the £800 million figure out there in the first paragraph, because this Ramonin trade envoy does not like that he can't prevent no deal, so quit like a petty child. Don't worry, shitweasel, you won't be missed. Don't let the door hit you in the vagina on the way out. Wouldn't want you having lips like Fiona Bruce, would we? This idiot is sitting there complaining he felt patronised because his bosses disagreed with his opinions on Brexit. Typical Ramona. When someone points out he talks shit, he cries and runs off to his safe space. Shocked he ain't called them racist or bigoted by now, to be honest. It actually takes them nearly half an article to point out this £800 million trade deal is stretched over the next 10 years up until 2030, meaning it's worth about £80 million a year, which, considering our GDP was $2.7 trillion in 2017, I don't think is really as much as this article is trying to make it out to be in the grand scheme of a country. Yes, to a person this money is a lot, and is exactly why the so-called independent newspaper led with that, before quietly plonking in there that this is £800 million over 10 years. Because of course, losing £80 million a year does not grab headlines like losing £800 million instantly will, even if that is a complete misrepresentation of the study the government themselves commissioned. The guy even admits towards the end that he was not adding any value to the role, likely because, as we are finding out more and more, all these people Theresa May appointed have done their best to send Brexit down the shitter. Now these Ramonas are starting to realise there is nothing they can do. They are quitting their jobs like salty little fuckpigs. Well, good riddance to bad rubbish is what I say. Now I'm going to end the video there. I just wanted to point out this blatant bullshit behind this article I come across. It's a very sneaky tactic that could easily fool people into thinking this deal is worth £800 million a year, which, as I have said, in the scheme of 2.7 trillion a year GDP, this is a drop in the ocean. They need to try better than that next time they throw these dishonest and essentially fake news articles out to the public. As always, let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Remember to like, subscribe and share the video as it helps the channel a lot, and I will see you all in the next one.